So recently, I watched this movie that made a very lasting impression on me. A film that I was just playing in the background while I was editing. I normally like TV, I guess, in the background whenever I edit something. I found myself closing my laptop and just being completely mesmerized by this film. It just demanded my attention. It demanded to be watched, and it's something that I wasn't expecting to love as much as I did. I'm talking about Cats. Yeah, 2019 movie, directed by Tom Hooper, Cats. You have to see this movie. It's so weird, and I've just never seen anything like it, and I don't think we're ever gonna see anything ever like it ever again. I have so many feelings about this movie, and I think it's misunderstood. I think this movie is at some point gonna have a cult following. So I had to bring on an expert for this. Chicago-based director, performer, songwriter, head of the music program at Second City. Somebody almost too qualified to be on this show, but he agreed to be on it. I have Jeff Bouthiette as my guest for today's show. I have my good buddy Will, the camera guy, as you guys may see him from Here's the Issue, because I need to know everything about this movie. So on this episode of Deeper Issues, I never thought I'd be saying this, but we're gonna be talking about Cats. Joining me today, I have Will, the cameraman. I have Cats expert or theater expert, Jeff Bouthiette, theater director, teacher at Second City. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I am so excited to talk about the insanity that is Cats. I could not be more excited.
Awesome. Also, Will, the camera guy, you guys may recognize him from his brief little cameos on Here's the Issue over at youtube.com/goldenapplecomics. Will, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this Jellicle film for Jellicle viewers.
I really appreciate both you guys coming on and talking to me about Cats. Like I said, I was so captivated and enthralled by this movie, and it's not my wheelhouse. I'm not an expert on this subject matter whatsoever, which is why I wanted to have you on the show to maybe educate me a little bit more on Cats.
Cats!
Okay, so I want to start off with you, Will, because you saw this movie in theaters, and you honestly are the reason for me even watching this movie, because I think you recommended it to me. So I want a quick kind of a brief synopsis on your end of the movie and your experience with it.
I saw Cats twice. The first time I saw it I think on like a Tuesday, maybe like the day after it came out. It's probably like a Friday. At AMC Burbank 16, my favorite theater, with a bunch of old people, because I saw it at 11:30 a.m., which is my preferred time to go to the movies.
The fiend of the fair.
I had no knowledge of Cats. I had no knowledge of the Jellicle ball, and I had no knowledge of any such Jellicle choice. When I first saw Cats, I was I sat in like stunned silence for the first maybe like 35 minutes. Which is wild, because like the movie, it's like a tight 86 minutes. Like, it's not a long film, but it felt long. It felt like I was in like the hyperbolic time chamber that like I came out of the theater like a changed person.
Were you in any kind of were you in any kind of inebriated state?
Nope. Stone cold sober, 11:30 a.m.
Okay.
With like the retirement community of Burbank.
Oh yeah, that's right. That'd be something else for you to confess that you were completely wasted or plastered.
As someone who goes to see movies at like 11:30 a.m., I'm the youngest person in the theater by 40 years, like almost 100% of the time. But it was one of those things where it's like I was very taken by it. Like it's one of those things where it's like it is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I hope to never see anything like it again.
Well, I don't think you will see anything like it ever again.
I doubt it. But as someone who is big and is very plugged into like the movie industry. I work at a production company. It's pride. I like when I had friends who were like very like cautiously like interested in it. And they're like, "What's the deal with this Cats movie?" And I would talk to them about it. And I'm like, I'm like, is it good? No. It's terrifying. It's one of the scariest theater viewing experiences I've ever had. It's like Cats Hereditary.
That's what I say to you. Okay.
And just like in terms of like just how unnerved I was for 90 straight minutes.
But you went to see it again.
Yes, I saw. And then I went to an Alamo Drafthouse Rowdy screening, which is like one of the best theater going experiences I've ever had in my entire life. People were like standing up. Everyone was singing along. It's like I feel like that's probably the best way to see this kind of movie is just with people, because it does encourage like a strange sense of community. Like when they sing Magical Mr. Mistopheles, like everyone stood up and like wrapped their arms around each other and everyone was swaying back and forth. It's like, it's truly a theater going experience unlike anything I've ever had. But I would never not recommend it, which is, I think, the weirdest thing. It's like I think about movies that I don't like, and there are a lot of them. And a lot of those movies I don't really recommend to people. But I was like, you should probably see Cats.
It's an experience, and you're right.
And just because like there's no movie like it.
There's and from what I understand too, there's no musical like it. So Jeff, I want to throw it to you here. I want to know, as there's going to be obviously like the common person who maybe doesn't understand Cats, and I think I even saw an interview on the special features for the Cats DVD because I ended up buying it. I loved this movie for a bunch of reasons. But Andrew Lloyd Webber even talked about, I think, his debut in the 1981 play where he was standing backstage with all their performers before they started going on. And he was like, what are we doing here? No idea how people are going to react to this. And then I think they got a standing ovation after their first number, which was Jellicle Songs for Jellicle Cats. So it's a weird experience, right? And obviously, I don't know if it's a state of mind or an understanding or whatever it may be. But actually, what I want to start off by asking you is, what is a Jellicle Cat?
Oh gosh, isn't that a good question? So,
well, all cats are Jellicle Cats.
Well, here's the thing. Originally, they weren't all Jellicle Cats, right? So this is based on a T.S. Eliot book of poetry that he wrote for his godchildren. Like he would mail them letters with these poems about cats, and then eventually they put it in a book and published it, right? And so originally Jellicle Cats are like specifically black and white and like nocturnal cats. They're scruffy, but in this musical, the word Jellicle Cat means nothing. Like it means absolutely nothing. Like they're special, I guess. Like they're special magical cats. Like that's about all I get.
That's what I got from it too. They're like a gang. Like they're like a group of cat elitists.
I mean, yeah, it sort of feels that way of like they're like, well, because they get to like one of them gets to be reincarnated, so they're super special cats.
Yeah, they're very magical, as I can see too from obviously Magical Mr. Mistopheles, but even Macavity, which plays a bigger role in this movie than the stage play version, from what I've seen.
Significantly, although the musical, the stage play has no story. Like you think the movie has no story, the musical has significantly less story.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Macavity does not kidnap all of these people onto a ship in the middle of the Thames. That does not happen. I guess he does kidnap old Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
Towards the very end. And that is the only moment of plot that happens pretty much in the whole musical. So
right on. So that leads me, I guess, into my other thing about the differences between the stage play versus the movie. Obviously, they used the narrative device of the Victoria character to kind of introduce you to the characters and explain what's going on, and then kind of bring you into the world of the Jellicle Cats and move that story forward through her. But what other major differences? And then also, as a member of the theater community, what was the response, I guess, to the differences? I mean, I know this is this is the play, right? Is it still held in as high regards in the theater community? Or?
I would say Cats the Musical is a divisive musical. Okay. Like I wouldn't say that most theater people are in love with Cats the Musical, because it's fucking weird. Like, it's so strange. The whole first act, the only thing that happens is that cats introduce themselves. Like, that is the entirety of the first act. So I would say people that love dancing, it's a dance musical. It doesn't make sense from a story perspective, but it makes sense as like sexy cat dancing.
Yeah, but like I guess like my question is like, is it like it was like, is Cats like an activator for a lot of people
What do you mean by that?
in reference to like finding it sexy? Just because like everything about this has become like so like earnestly fascinating to me. Like I was talking to Pablo like before we started, and I was like, I don't want Jeff to think that I'm like taking the piss out of Cats, because I'm like, ever since I've seen this movie, I'm like, I have legitimate like really interesting. I'm like interested in what this thing is.
The original choreographer, Gillian, what the heck was her last name? Oh gosh, I have it somewhere. But the original choreographer, I'm sure I do have it somewhere. Oh, come on. Oh, Gillian Lynne. Okay. So the original choreographer, she was really into sexy cats. Like,
okay.
Her whole deal was that it has to be sexy. So,
okay. Gotcha.
So it's there in the DNA of the show. There's no question. And then,
sorry, go ahead.
No, and then like, they're like cat-like, but they're always sexy. Like it's always like the sensual part of.
Yeah, I can definitely see how it like could be like clips I've seen of the stage play. I feel like are almost a little more erotic in some ways than the actual movie is, because I think the movie does the weird thing where like they all have like the Ken doll torso.
Sure, and they also have ambulatory tails like monkeys.
Yeah,
like that's very strange and not
like cattails, right?
Sure, but can a cat like hold on to a bar and swing like the cats in those movies?
Yeah,
like,
it's not like it's like an appendage.
But yeah, like, so there are a bunch of differences. There's not like, it's not like hugely different, but Victoria is not really a character. She's kind of a backup dancer who does a ballet solo in the original show. She doesn't, but in the original show, they're saying everything almost entirely from beginning to end direct to audience. So you don't need an audience surrogate because they're talking to you the whole time. And then the Taylor Swift cat is Bombalurina is not like in cahoots with Macavity.
What?
And she kind of actually like sings that song as a warning of like, watch out, Macavity is bad.
There is no one like Macavity, and he has committed all crimes.
Very evil.
The Napoleon of crime.
It's the comic book nerd in me, but I want a Macavity like maybe tie-in comic. Give me some backstory on this version of this Macavity character.
To be fair, the movie is the Macavity tie-in comic, because anyone that is like loves this musical went in and was like, oh my god, he can like transport people magically and do all these things. He has a boat. Like
he's committed every crime.
Yeah.
Everyone.
He has crazy eyes, like all the things. He's Idris Elba. Like, what more do you want?
I think the fact that he's Idris Elba is almost like a little jarring. Like, especially going back to the whole like, is cat sexy question? Because for me, I was not like the whole like Ken doll torso on every cat was strange to me, but very especially weird. Strange on Macavity.
It is
like maybe weird. It's because he's Idris Elba, and like in my head I'm like, Idris Elba is like maybe like one of our sexiest people. Like I think that's like kind of like an objective. Like everyone thinks Idris Elba's hot, like regardless of sexual orientation.
Sure.
Yeah, he's like just like a beautiful man. And I think the fact that like Macavity also has the Ken doll torso was like extra. I was like, oh. I was like, well, if there was gonna be one of them, it would probably be him.
Yeah. Back to sexy cats. Jeff, I don't know if you can answer this question. Is the Jellicle Ball a cat orgy?
I mean, I feel like there's a generation of gay musical theater kids that really think it is. I don't know. I mean, they don't there's nothing in these kids' poems to suggest that they're fucking, but there's a lot of subtext.
There's a lot of subtext in this musical that I feel like I'm like, this is a cat orgy, I think. You know, like there's like Catnip going around at some point with Taylor Swift there.
I mean, that is an addition, definitely. There's no Catnip in the original, but there are dancing roaches. So, I mean, but I will say that those dancing roaches are way harder to take when they are CGI than when they are people. Like,
I think that a lot of hype was made about the dancing roaches, which I don't think is even the scariest thing in that musical number. I think the mice are.
The mice are way scarier because they have children.
Because
faces, right?
at least the roaches kind of look like roaches. Like the mice look like the Mii's that you'd make on the Wii, but made of like vulcanized rubber.
well, but the mice in the original are just as terrifying because they have these like long. It's like a parking cone. Like they shoved a parking cone on a person and then grew whiskers on it. It's terrifying.
Oh my god!
They're almost like a Nightmare Before scripted, like a Nightmare Before Christmas style mouse.
They look like plague doctors.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
That's freaky.
So,
but I do prefer it to like the vulcanized rubber Wii Sports characters that are in the movie.
I really like the mice. So this is my other thing. I guess amongst the theater community, Jeff, what's the perception of this movie?
I think that it's divided. And I think that honestly, most people are on the don't like it or only like it ironically train. I have to come out of the cat's closet. I love this movie.
I mean, too.
And I think it is exactly like the spirit of the musical. Like all of the ways in which this movie is fucking insane are just like the movie version of how the original music is insane. To me it feels energetically the same, even though, I mean, like you said, a lot of CGI Ken doll torsos, ambulatory tails and whatnot. But so I think that people, for the most part, are very like, oh, the original is easier to take because it's actual people in suits versus the CGI. But I honestly, it was always weird. It was always freaky, and it still is. So I don't agree.
I agree with you. So I watched, after watching the movie, like I said, I had no exposure. I actually went back and watched the stage play. There's a 1998 version available on iTunes that I instantly had to rent because I'm like, what the difference between the performance, like a live performance, and then the movie. But I thought the stage play was weird in that it's people dressed in these like weird cat kind of, so it was kind of harder for me to almost, suspend disbelief. I don't know, but the movie, they had the things of like the emotions that like cats have through their ears. So for me, or just like the weird like neck movements are cat movements. So for me, I was like, cool. And I even liked the way that they used the Victoria character and moved the plot forward, explained a little bit more about the characters, explained a little bit more about the Jellicle Ball. I liked Old Deuteronomy. Judi Dench to me was great. And in like the play, it's like this like big weird guy who's like this polygamist cat that kind of just like, I'm like, I don't know, is he like cult leader-y?
Sure, but let's just keep in mind that at the end of the movie, Judi Dench stares down the barrel of the camera like a psychopath and talks into our brains. Like that,
that's like what I imagine being in a car crash is like, how like my brain felt. Like I was just like that was like, I was like, what the fuck? That really felt like Old Testament shit. Like I was like, this is like, I'm like, is this like how Moses felt like when God spoke directly to him? That's like maybe the most disturbed I've ever been in a movie theater is when she looks directly at the camera and she's like, a cat is not a dog. I'm like, fine, I guess you're right.
Okay, so the CGI did it a little bit more for me. Some of the performances, is there a dream casting that you guys like? You're like, oh, this person has to be this person, or Esther Salva's perfect Macavity. And
that conversation doesn't get had because like I know that there is like kind of this stigma as cats is like this unadaptable thing.
Well, here's the thing: like so many of those people that were in the original production, are like titans of musical theater. Like Betty Buckley was in the Broadway production, and Elaine Page as the Grisabellas, obviously. Also, fun fact, Judi Dench was supposed to be in the original production, was supposed to play Grisabella, and her Achilles snapped a week before the first preview. So also, Judi Dench can't really sing. So it was a very different, it would have been a very different, there was going to be no Jennifer Hudson moment if that was the original Grisabella. But like, I feel like it's less that there's dream casting because it was fucking Betty Buckley. Like it was these crazy people playing these roles. And yeah, I don't know. I honestly have to say, I never considered that it would be made into a movie until it was made into a movie.
Everybody did.
Like I never even thought it was possible that they would ever. There's no story.
Well, hey, there's a story now. So the other thing is
Barely.
I want to ask about the performers or the performances. So as somebody who as a theater director, how do you I mean, like we kind of like, I guess we see the special features in the Cats DVD or whatever it may be, but how do you prepare to play a cat? Is there like a lot of drinking out of bowls of like saucers, milk, or?
I would love to know who came up with that, because that was genius to me. People were like pointing that out as like one of the weird moments, and I'm like, that was incredible. If it was Ian McKellen, he deserves every Oscar and BAFTA ever. Like that was an awesome moment.
Terrorist
like that was incredible.
The fiend of the fast.
I have not delved too much into the like backstory of the movie stuff, but I'm sure that in a production of this, you would do like the whole thing that you would do with any movement piece, which is you would watch film of actual cats and you would see what you could recreate in the room and all of that stuff. But these people weren't in the room together until they started filming. So who the hell knows? And it actually, as a valid criticism, I feel like this is true. They all have very different interpretations of what it is to be a cat. Like there definitely isn't like a movement director that was like, hey y'all, here are the 5 things you have to do as a cat. Like it feels like everyone came in and was like, I'm the Idris Elba cat. I'm the Taylor Swift cat. Anything that wasn't danced felt very improvised to me.
I love Ian McKellen drinking out of that saucer of milk there. And then also like he has like this moment of just like, and cats do that, right? Where they kind of get like face to face. But I don't know if the actor who was playing Mr. Mistopheles, like it seemed like he almost, yeah, well, he kind of like was a little taken aback, but I don't know if it was part of the performance or if it was just like, I wasn't expecting Ian McKellen to get in my face like that. But
I really hope it was genuine and that actor was just like, holy fuck, Ian McKellen is terrifying.
Because I think that's Tom Hooper's whole thing is he says he's like, I like to capture lightning in a bottle or things that can't be recreated in multiple performances. And that seemed very organic of him, like kind of like being that very close talker there, which I just I thought was amazing. But yeah, it's the movie is just, it's bananas for all those performances. So Jennifer Hudson or Barbara Streisand, was Barbara Streisand ever part of the Cats musical, or did she only sing Memory?
I don't think she was ever in a production. It is not a Barbara Streisand part. She's not on stage enough for Barbara Streisand to do that role. So I don't think that she was ever in a production. Wait, Jennifer. I love Jennifer Hudson. Generally, I wish someone had wiped the snot out off of her face during that take.
Here's
like
the thing.
that was so much.
That was
I think
that was maybe
CGI'd
the
in there.
scene that maybe divided the audience the most, and by that I mean I sat next to an old woman who was completely like in tears during the Memory number, and I was like about to cry laughing. just because it's like that one frame of her face where she's just like, I was like just looking for it. I was like, where is it? It has to be here. And I think that's probably the scene where the CGI is the worst, just because it is like that weird slow push in on her face. I'm like, oh, this does not look good. Because at least like
the snot is CGI.
every other scene, there's like
You think the snot is CGI?
Like I said, you gotta go in and watch all the special features, but I'm pretty sure I saw the like green screen and then the like, you know how they do the thing where they like wipe and show you the final product versus the green screen. And I think maybe it was just accentuated more. But I mean, I thought her performance was super emotional and just like, she's an insane singer.
I love her. I think she's quite a good actor and an incredible singer. I thought it was a little bit poor, like that moment was a little bit poorly directed in my opinion, just because it's sort of the classic moment of like, it would be great if this character had an objective and wasn't just having a mental breakdown in this moment. Mm-hmm. A little bit of focus, I think, would have helped that song a little bit, but that's just, but I feel like, you know, I also will listen to Jennifer Hudson do whatever the hell she wants. And if she needs to have a breakdown and they need to draw in a snot bubble, I'm fine with that. Also, Tom Hooper directed Les Mis, right? That's the same director, right?
Yeah.
He loves to just get right up inside your throat with a close-up during singing. It is really a lot.
A movie that I do not like.
No, and I love Les Mis, and I love Les Mis in a way that, like, when I saw it in the theater, in the movie theater, I cried from beginning to end, despite the fact that I didn't like the movie because I love the musical so much. But holy shit, does he love to just like, part of musical theater is that there's distance. Like, we're not staring at your tonsils. God.
I would maybe say this is probably his best movie. And I do not like Tom Hooper because Tom Hooper makes so did other movies that are bad. But Tom Hooper makes movies, like I have a 4-quadrant system of movies that I will not see, and every year there are a couple, and it's movies that are straight-laced period pieces starring British people about shit that I don't care about, and Tom Hooper just makes those movies. It's like King's Speech, boring, don't care. The fact that it won Best Picture is like embarrassing. Les Miserables, bad movie. Danish Girl is like one of the worst movies made last decade.
I didn't see it. I haven't seen. I've only seen the King's Speech, and I liked it.
King's Speech is like King's Speech is great if like CVS is out of like NyQuil PM. And then he made Cats, but it feels like Cats is maybe the only one of the. Well, he also has like Red Dust and Damn United, which are like UK character dramas starring like British people. So like I don't care because I don't watch movies like that. But Cats is maybe the only movie that he's made that maybe like has like a directorial voice.
Sure.
It's maybe the only movie like out of that like 4, because those are the ones that people are like familiar with, that like he's making choices. They're not good, but like they are choices. Well, I think I respect that more than like some like I could just read the King George v Wikipedia article and get like literally the same exact experience.
I think he strikes me as the type of director who kind of is not, I mean, I don't want to say hands off, but he does give the performance to the actors and kind of like allow them to make the choices versus him being more hands on and like being very specific about the direction he's giving them. I think he gives the actors that liberty or that freedom. And I'm sure, Jeff, you can attest to this in theater. You kind of, it's like you're not there kind of on top of people, like having to direct each and every, individual bit of their performance. You kind of at some point have to trust them with it and give it to them. And I think that's the kind of director he is.
Sure. And also theater evolves because it goes over time. And so there is more freedom in that. Although it depends from director to director. I don't know. The other thing that I think is, it's just that making movies of musicals that capture what was exciting about the musical is really hard. And it's because there's such different forms. And I love musical theater, but you need to have a sense of like such a a sense of musicality and also a sense of like the necessary distance that you need from certain things. Otherwise, you're just the whole time your brain is screaming like, "This is bullshit." They're singing, and in this case, they're also cats. Like, and I think that he sometimes achieves an insane balance. I don't think it's on purpose, though. I think he stumbled into. He adapted, unlike Les Mis, he adapted a musical that could support how weird it is to listen to people sing on film. And Cats is weird. It's so weird already that we're like, well, of course they sing. They're insane human CGI cats.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they sing? Of course, it all makes sense in some insane dream logic. So yeah, I mean, there's something here that is lightning in a bottle. I would agree that Les Mis is a pretty terrible movie. So this movie, there's something there. Something there.
Yeah.
I think
I would say
too,
Les Mis is probably his second worst movie.
I read that he wanted Wolverine, freaking Hugh Jackman in Cats, and rumor was there's like, well, who would have Hugh Jackman played? And I think he was going to be Skimbleshanks, which
The railway cat, the cat on the railway train.
Okay, so
I adore that song. I love that song.
I do that.
It's the best number in the movie.
Tap dances his ass off. Like it was
He goes
so
insane.
impressive.
Well, and
There
he's a
was no-
legitimately incredible dancer in real life.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
all the dancing in this movie, and that wasn't in the stage play, that insane tap dance number. I was waiting for it. I'm like, man, I can't wait to see this in the stage play. And I'm just like, oh, actually, that's something that was adapted for the movie, which was one of my favorite things. And my daughter, every time, she's obsessed with it, right? She's 20 months and like just as mesmerized, right? And sings Magical Mr. Mistopheles. And if Skimbleshanks comes on, she tries to like tap dance along with him, which is impossible. Nobody can tap dance like Skimbleshanks. I've taken up a lot of your guys' time, so I got two more questions here. Favorite cat?
I have a tier list. I've ranked them all.
Okay. Top three.
My top three cats. We'll go from 3 to 1. My number
Okay.
3 is Skimbleshanks, the railway cat, the cat on the railway train.
Okay.
He has the best number, but I think that he's a little pompous. I think he overestimates his essentialness to the run of the train.
Fair.
And then number 2, I have the Rum Tum Tugger, who is a curious cat.
Yeah.
And then number 1, I have Mr. Mistopheles because I like that he maybe should have been the Jellicle choice, but he's too horny to go to heaven, so they don't let him.
Yeah, he was trying to get it in with Victoria.
He's trying to get it
Tugger,
with
though,
everyone.
and I
He's a
think
horny
this is the most appropriate time to use this phrase. Rum Tum Tugger, I think it's fair to say that he slays pussy, right?
Yes. He is a very curious cat.
I have a tie, and I have to also agree, Rum Tum Tugger, both because I love the cat and I love Jason Derulo. It's all things.
I think Jason Derulo is giving a legitimately very, very impressive vocal performance.
He's
I'm like,
having
he
a
can really
great
sing.
time. He's having a great time.
I think he's probably the most plugged into what this movie should be. Because I think he's probably getting the most out of it.
What a blast. So
And then I would also I love Ian McKellen, and I love Gus the Theater Cat. I think that he also, I feel like if you're gonna do a show with live human cats, that you have to give props to the people that are having the best time. And and Ian McKellen and Jason Derulo, I think, are having the best time.
I think they're having the best.
they're definitely having a good time.
I would also say whatever like weird actors Tom Hooper like found off the street who played Mungo Jerry and Rumble Teaser are also probably having a good time, and as well as the actor who's playing Growl Tiger, the pirate cat.
Oh man.
I was like, he's definitely having a good time.
Okay, so before I let you guys go, give me a quick 1 or 2 sentences on why anybody and everybody watching this should watch Cats.
You should watch Cats the musical, the movie, because it captures a moment on screen unlike any other moment that has ever been captured, and it is the pinnacle of a combination of CGI, music, and utter batshittery that you will never see ever again. It will never happen again, so don't miss the one time that it happened.
It for sure is lightning in a bottle. Will?
I very much have to echo what Jeff is saying. Cats lost like $400 million for Universal. We'll never get a movie like this ever again. Like a true blue blank check that they were like, and the craziest thing about Cats is that they thought it would hit.
I think in the long run, it is going to hit.
There is a scrapped for your consideration campaign for the Oscars. We will, as like a lover of like film form and like some like a media, like a film studies degree, we will never get a attempted mainstream injection of something this weird, maybe ever again.
Which is
and
great.
For that, like regardless of any sort of like objective opinion about Cats, you should watch it just because like it's kind of like it's like a landmark movie, and just like in terms of like what big studios will give people money to do.
They gave him a lot of money to do it, and he did it in his own way,
Yeah,
right?
he did make the Cats movie.
I think it's going to hit in the long run. I think we're going to be watching this movie. Exactly. We're saying rowdy screenings for years to come.
Mm-hmm. I think because it's one of those things where it's like like if you can like kind of like generate that like little kernel of irony, it like immediately clicks.
And it has a connection like to the sort of Rocky Horror phenomenon. I would not be surprised if in 15 years college students are dressing up as cats for midnight showings of this movie.
I went to a midnight rowdy screening of Cats, and there were people dressed up already.
I will be in my best Skimble Shanks outfit ASAP.
The second that this ends, like Quar ends, I'm gonna try to go back because it was like a truly like electric movie going experience. Like it had the same energy as like a Marvel or a Star Wars opening night, where it's like everyone is plugged in and has the exact same. Everyone's here for the same reason, and it's to have a great time. And
Right
it is.
on.
It's like the culture's lit, and I had a Jellicle ball.
Well, on that note, gentlemen, I'll let you guys get back. I have my wife looking at me. My baby's over here attacking me. Thank you guys so much for your time, for joining me and having this discussion about Cats. Hopefully it'll raise awareness and get more people into watching this insane movie.
Cats!
Thanks again for tuning in. Big thanks to Jeff Bouthiette and Will, the camera guy, for coming to talk Cats with me. Watch this movie. Watch it. I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but it is definitely worth watching. And one thing is for sure, as long as people are out there recreationally taking LSD, there's going to be a place in the world for cats.